Over 600 million of us use a paid-for music subscription.
My feed is flooded with, this is how you trick Spotify.
But is some of that money ending up in the hands of fraudsters?
I was so surprised by the scale.
Streaming has transformed the music business and now makes up more than 2/3 of the music industry's global revenue. But in a first-of-its-kind case, one man in the US has been charged with streaming fraud.
He's a musician now facing serious charges, accused of using AI to create and stream music and illegally collect more than $10 million in royalties.
Mike Smith seemed to have made it as an artist. Over 200,000 followers on social media, collabs with big musicians. But now he's facing up to 60 years behind bars if convicted. He's pleaded not guilty to all the charges. But what is he alleged to have done? Well, to explain that, first we need to understand how making money from music streaming works. When streaming music online took off, with platforms like YouTube Music, Spotify, and Apple Music, a new model of how musicians made money had to be made. A percentage of their revenue, mostly generated from ads and subscriptions, gets put into a royalty pool. Now, this is a huge amount of money. It's estimated that over 600 million of us use a paid-for music subscription. For example, the world's largest music streaming service, Spotify, paid out $9 billion last year to music rights holders. Let's say each grain of rice represents 70 grand. The number of plays an artist's tracks receive proportionally determines how much they and their record label will receive from the royalty pool. So if my music accounted for 1% of streams on a platform, I'd get around 1% of the money in the pool. Now, anyone can upload music to a streaming service and try and generate royalties. There's around 100 million songs just in Spotify's library alone, though some artists complain these royalty models are complex, opaque, and underpays them for their work. But how can people game the system? Well, Mike Smith has been accused of using artificial intelligence to generate hundreds of thousands of songs, and then use bots. These are computer programs that can perform tasks repeatedly and automatically to listen to these songs billions of times, generating royalties for himself. Doing this, the FBI claims Mike made more than $10 million in royalties across a variety of streaming platforms. That's money that should have gone to honest artists, producers, and record labels, but instead was allegedly diverted to Mike's fraudulent scheme. But how was Mike Smith's alleged scheme discovered? Well, I've been speaking to somebody who thinks he might know the answer.
When I saw his mugshot, it was like my screensaver for like 2 months.
This is Jonathan Hay, a music publicist who's worked with some impressive names over the years.
Whitney Houston, Rihanna, Nappy Roots, Twista, Kanye West's label, Eminem's label.
Now, Jonathan started working with Mike from around 2012 onwards. He said that Mike had ambitions of becoming an artist and producer himself. So how did that relationship go?
We started hanging out a lot. He wanted us to be producers, Smith and Hay. Mike suggested that we pay rappers, so he spent, a couple $100,000 on getting us rap features. And everything with him was like 100%, legit. And that's where we started developing the TV show One Shot.
One Shot is coming.
Ready for your one shot?
Each week, MCs move on. One will go home with $100K and a record deal.
But eventually, in 2018, Jonathan sensed something sinister might be at play. Jazz singles that would chart one week as #1 would suddenly disappear the next.
Some of the jazz people that I've known were like, that doesn't happen like that. It just went from 1 to 0. I'm like, Mike, what's going on? He was like, I don't know, we lost our radio. He always had an excuse. And then he did this Christian song, right? That's called Beautiful Day. And we were getting streams in Vietnam and Pakistan. And it's like, okay, what? So then I talked to Mike about it. Mike was like, oh, it's just beta from Spotify. Then all of a sudden, all of our music started coming down. And I would get messages from TuneCore. Your music is taken down because of streaming fraud. Then DistroKid shut us down, streaming fraud. Lander shut us down, streaming fraud.
Jonathan's shown me emails where he unsuccessfully tried to argue his case with the distribution companies, which are services that help artists get music uploaded onto streaming sites. He told me that at this point, he got the authorities involved.
So I met with the FBI agent in Louisville, Kentucky. He was like, yeah, this is definitely something that we would be interested in. That's when Mike and I broke it off.
It's been alleged that Mike's scheme ended up being much larger than what Jonathan suspected. In an email obtained by the FBI from February 2024, Mike is alleged to have boasted his activity generated $12 million in royalties since 2019. I wanted to speak to Mike Smith to hear his side of the story, but he didn't respond to my request for an interview. He's not without his supporters, though. Some people online are calling him Robin Hood, saying that what he did was good because streaming services take advantage of artists. And I've tracked down someone who used to work with Mike, who has similar opinions on the case.
Mike Smith is a decent, good guy.
This is Goldy Locks, a businesswoman, professional wrestler, and a music artist. Both her and Mike work together on occasion in the music industry, and she has a very different view of working with Mike compared to Jonathan.
Literally, I said, God, I wish there was a way that I could do something to help my colleague because I feel really sick. And literally the next day you were in my DMs. I'm not saying that Mike Smith is Jesus Christ. I'm just saying throughout the world and throughout history, it appears as a human race, there's always somebody that's being used as an example. My feed is flooded with, this is how you trick Spotify into spinning your song more so that you can get more revenue.
Using bots, do you think it should be illegal? Or
No,
do you
it
think,
shouldn't be illegal.
do you think that is fraud?
No, what are you gonna, it's here, it's already here, it's not going anywhere. You might as well figure out a way to use it for your benefit. And you know what? Apparently Mike Smith did. So let's just come down on him because everybody's already using it anyway.
Some musicians are criticising him because, that's $10 million that may have been able to go to other artists, spread out. And I was just wondering what you would kind of say to that.
Yes, if he did something wrong, if it's robbing people, robbing me of what, Beth? I don't get anything anyway. That's just it. You have to be just getting ridiculous amounts of anything to see anything.
Many artists like Goldy are unhappy with how little they're paid for streams, but that doesn't change the fact that Mike Smith stands accused of orchestrating a multi-million-dollar fraud and stealing from the royalty pool his fellow artists receive payments from. So how big of a problem is streaming fraud?
I would call the Mike Smith case kindergarten fraud.
This is Andrew Batey, CEO of BeatDap, a startup that aims to detect fraud on streaming platforms.
A lot of the professional scammers, they don't want to chart. They don't want to be a famous artist. What they want to do is load millions of songs onto different streaming services and then slowly play each song. So no one notices the song that only has 1,000 plays. No one cares about that song. But if you have enough of those songs generating 1,000 plays, you can make a lot of money. I do not believe the DOJ and the FBI have any illusions that $10 million is like the top of the food chain. I think what the Mike Smith case does is allow them to find someone who they have full jurisdictional control over in the United States to set the precedent they need to go after these more sophisticated, difficult investigations.
So what now? Mike has been charged with wire fraud conspiracy, and money laundering conspiracy. These are all federal crimes which each carry a maximum sentence of 20 years behind bars. He's pled not guilty to all charges. We contacted his lawyers about the accusations in this piece, and this is what they told us.
The indictment is an accusation, and he has not pled guilty to any of the charges. Much of the conduct the indictment alleges, as many articles have reported, has been widespread in the music industry for years. Yet, this alleged conduct has never been criminally prosecuted under these statutes before. This is a unique case, and Mr. Smith looks forward to addressing these novel charges in court.
But if he is convicted, how could this case impact the music industry? We contacted Spotify. They're one of the streaming services Mike is alleged to have used to commit streaming fraud. This is what they told us.
Spotify invests heavily in automated and manual reviews to prevent, detect, and mitigate the impact of artificial streaming on our platform. They claimed only a small proportion of the royalties paid to Smith came from them. And we can't be sure which platforms Mike Smith may have focused on. But Jonathan is feeling positive about how the case may make waves in the music business.
I think it's wonderful. It levels the playing field. We're learning about it. We finally have some rules for the first time in music history.